Hello, my name is Robbie. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for visiting if this is your first time. We're going to do a 30-minute practice for you. It should be sufficient for all of your daily movement and mindfulness needs. You don't need any equipment. All you need is yourself and your mat. All right, so when you're ready, let's get started. We're going to come to a wide-legged child's pose to begin. So knees nice and wide on the mat, big toes touching. Letting your hands walk forward and elbows nice and wide here. So bring your elbows to either edge of the mat, but let your index and thumbs touch in the center overhead. Rest your forehead down. Now bringing the elbows wide here is just a nice way to give the upper back a little bit of space to begin. And I really want you to utilize that space at the back of the body. So if you haven't already, just close the eyes and let your breathing become a little bit smoother and a little bit longer. And with every breath, especially the inhale, you're attempting to just inflate the entire length of your back, both in the sense from crown of the head to the base of your tailbone, but also laterally across each side of the torso, feeling with every inhale that you move into space a little bit more. And as you breathe nice and slowly here, we're just giving ourselves a moment to arrive. Sometimes when I kind of hear this language to arrive, for example, I can notice that my mind is latching on for a little more almost detail or instruction, because this is often the nature of our mind, right? So when I say I would like you to just take a moment to arrive here, really what we're doing is using the breath to bring us into a kind of state where we can objectively view our behaviors and our mental patterns. So you just want to observe, what are you coming in to this practice with? What type of expectations are present? What are you anticipating? And we're just using the soothing breaths as an invitation to relinquish control of this practice and of how we'll respond and what we'll do. We're just trying to remain very open and receptive to movement, to breath, to emotions as they arise, whatever it could be. So let's just take one or two more long breaths here. Getting that expansion from top to bottom, side to side. Beautiful. And we'll just slowly shift into our first posture. So I'm going to get you to just walk your hands forward. Keep your hands and wrists in line with your shoulders. Spread out the fingers. And let the elbows and the triceps kind of roll down towards the earth a little bit. So you feel the biceps and the soft part of the elbows rolling up towards the sky. Feel your shoulder blades protracting across your back. And then with those firm hands and steady arms, you're going to lift the torso off the legs and bring yourself up into this first downward dog. And this first downward dog, I'm going to ask you just to bend your knees nice and generously, actually, so that your lower belly is almost touching your upper thighs. And we're really getting into a little bit of hip flexion. Again, keep the soft part of your elbows facing upwards towards the sky. And let your chin just glide downwards towards the upper chest. Back of the neck is long. Take one more breath. Feel the chest cavity expanding. And on the exhale, or just after the exhale, lower your knees down. And just find a neutral tabletop position here, we're just going to take a minute or two just to focus on our wrists. Again, wrist prep is very important. You can always take longer, but for the sake of this practice, we're going to just do a relatively short one. Bring your knees a bit more forward towards your wrists. We're going to start with wrist push-ups. So the key here is to try and lift both palms together, keeping the knuckles and the fingers pressed down. And then we're going to lower the palms down on the count of 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Again, lift the palms up, keep the fingers and the knuckles pressing down, and lower for 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. 4 more times. Lift up, lower for 3, 2, 1. Lift up both hands together, lower for 3, 2, 1. Final 2. Lift up, lower for 3, 2, 1. And lift up to lower for 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Come back to sit on your heels. Nice stretch here in the soles of the feet. We're going to bring our hands together in a prayer position. I want you to press your fingertips, knuckles, and the heels of your hands together and push one hand into the other. Resist that push by effectively pushing back. And this shouldn't be kind of a loose, sloppy movement. As in, I want you to feel your forearms really starting to fire up. And again, pushing one hand into the next, like generating some force. Okay, you should really start to feel the fold of the wrist working now. I certainly can. And then keep that kind of prayer position. We're just going to find some wrist rotation. So your fingertips will turn away from your chest. Backs of the hands come to touch, fingertips come back in, and then roll it out. And just find this nice fluid movement. Again, keep pressing the hands with gentle force together. Beautiful. And then reverse, go the other way. Really nice. Good. Let's just warm up the spine a little bit here. So interlock the fingers, push the palms away. Maybe your knuckles will crack. Let's pause here. Maybe you want to untuck your toes, plantar flex your feet. Next, inhale, we're going to lift chest and palms up to the sky. Lift your chin. And exhale, push forward. Try to keep your wrists in line with your shoulders, chin to the chest. Flex the entire spine. Again, inhale here. Lift up. Try to feel the front of the body opening. Exhale, push, 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 push. You might feel a nice deep stretch in your quads. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, release your hands down and find your neutral tabletop. Okay, toes are tucked here. We're going to find a slight posterior pelvic tilt. It should mean that in the front of your body, the distance between your pubic bone and your belly button is closing. Your lower back is free from any sort of arching. Keep that pelvic position. Step your left foot back and step your right foot back and find a nice strong high plank. Now push the ground away. Try to create distance between your sternum and the mat. Keep your gaze just slightly forward and down. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Without moving hands and feet, perhaps you can just push back to downward dog. Again, find this nice deep bend in your knees. Let your buttocks and your hip elevate higher. And take 1 more breath here. Just generating this heat in the body. Again, we're going to inhale, come forward, high plank. Hold it strongly. Keep breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Let's bend the knees, lower them onto the earth. Push your hips back onto your heels. Let your elbows come down. Now keep looking forward. Use your next inhale. Come forward as you breathe in. Chest sweeps down. Then the belly button arrives and the lower ribs onto the earth as you lift your chest up into your cobra. Squeeze the elbows into the side of the body. Push the tops of the feet down. Again, try not to strain the back of your neck. So think about lengthening from the thoracic spine up to the crown of the head. Looking forward and down for 3, for 2, and for 1. Beautiful. Let your head and chest come down for a moment. Push back onto your knees or straight back up into your high plank from that position. and then find your downward facing dog. As we pause in our downward dog, you might want to take a moment just to cycle the legs a little bit here, as if you're pedaling, lifting one heel. And again, you can also let your elbows also find a little bit of a bend here too. And we just take one more breath. Okay, really nice. From this position, we're going to find a short 90-90 lunge. So I'll get you to bring your knees back down and just step your right foot forward. Now, when I say short, it's not like a regular lunge. The key here is to keep this left knee directly underneath the left hip. And then we can bring our right hand on top of the right knee and our left hand on top of that right hand. Pause here, take a moment. Again, we need to find that posterior pelvic tilt to really get the stretch. So if your tailbone is reaching up towards the back of the head and you feel like your butt is sticking out, it's important that we undo that, right? So feeling your left glute engage a little bit, your tailbone reaching down towards the back of that left knee. And as soon as you find this posterior pelvic tilt, like if I had a dial on the side of my hip, I'd be turning this dial anti-clockwise. As soon as I do that, I should get a big, deep stretch across the front of this left hip pocket. And then from this position, we're going to inhale, raise both arms up overhead and interlock all of the fingers except the index finger. Again, take another inhale, lift up a little bit higher through your rib cage. And as you exhale, you're just going to lean slightly to your right side. Now, it's important as you're doing all of this that you keep that posterior pelvic tilt. That in itself is going to bring the nice deep stretch across the left lower middle back and the front of the left hip. Take one more breath here. Good. And then as you inhale, come back upright. And as you exhale, you're going to create cactus arms here, the elbows coming down in line with the shoulders. Next, inhale, lift your chest slightly up towards the sky. Now you might feel here, again, if you're staying disciplined with this pelvis, you might feel that you're actually not getting much of an arching of the upper back. And if you do feel that, then that's actually a good sign, right? Because we're trying to keep the lower back out of the equation. And often here, when we focus on lifting the chest, it just means we actually hinge from the lower back quite a lot. So we're trying to keep the lower back flat, lift the thoracic spine, create extension there. And again, your gaze is just kind of forward here. You don't necessarily need to look up. And let's take one more breath. That left hip is probably on fire right now. Good. And then with our next inhale, we're going to send the arms back up overhead. And as we exhale, we're going to bring the hands down and we're going to step back into our downward facing dog. Beautiful. To release tension from that left hip, a nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Beautiful. Let's come forward into our high plank. We're going to hold here for 5, little engagement of your quads. 4, 3, 2, 1, back to your downward dog. Bend the knees, lift your hips nice and high. We're going to find that 90-90 position on our left side. So bring both knees down first, and then we're going to step that left foot forward and just prioritize that your right knee stays underneath your right hip, left hand on top of the left knee, right hand on top. Just take a moment to come up. Again, take the arch out of the lower back, find that posterior pelvic tilt. Again, if you're looking at my left hip here, if we're finding that posterior pelvic tilt, again, we're turning anti-clockwise here, trying to lengthen the tailbone down towards the back of that right knee. Next inhale, we can raise both arms up. Again, interlock all of the fingers except index finger. Create a nice deep bend in your elbows here so you have space between your neck and your arms. And then just glide your head back as if you're pressing the back of the head against an imaginary wall behind you. Often the head really tends to poke out in front of us. We're going to inhale, lift the lower ribs up and away from our hip bones, the front of the body, and exhale, lean to your left side. So just a slight lean here. Stay strong with that posterior pelvic tilt. Your right glute should be naturally squeezing a little bit here. Breathe in and out through the nose. And really push down through your left big toe mount to stay rooted and balanced. One more breath. Beautiful. Let's inhale, come back up. Really nice. Exhale. We're going to open, elbows in line with shoulders. Find this thoracic extension, the upper back. Just tilt the sternum and the chest up to the sky. Again, the movement may feel minimal. And again, it probably should. Breathe. Take one more. Really keep finding that posterior pelvic tilt. Beautiful. And next inhale, we're going to send the arms back up overhead. As we exhale, bring the hands down and let's step it back, downward facing dog. Really nice. Look forward, find your high plank. Keep turning the soft part of your elbows forward towards your index and middle fingers. Keep pushing the ground away. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Back to your downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Really nice. And again, just take a moment, arrive here. Notice as your mind got carried away, as it got swept up with whatever reactions you're having to the movement, whatever judgments. And just take one more slow, long, nourishing breath. Beautiful. From here, gaze forward. We're going to step 1 foot forward at a time. To the front of the mat, you're going to have a gap between both feet. I want you to bring your hands just behind your heels. Hug yourself into your lower body. Bend your knees nice and deeply, as much as you need, so that your whole torso and trunk is resting on your thighs. Let your head be heavy. And focus on just lifting your hips a little bit higher and your buttocks a little bit higher without straightening your knees too much. You should feel that you're able just to get the upper body a little more over your legs. Take one more breath. Beautiful. With that calm presence, we slowly transform this movement into Utkatasana, our chair pose. So we bend our knees nice and deeply, keeping that stable base through the feet. Raise your arms. Chair pose, we kind of want a neutral pelvis, lower belly slightly pulling in. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Exhale, fold back over, plant your hands down, and step into your downward facing dog. Again, open up the hands wide in your downward dog, gripping the earth. Really important habit to get into. And just be mindful here of your wrist. Again, this will be different for everyone and an area where there's a potential sense of sensitivity. So just be mindful of your wrists here for this next movement, okay? Next inhale, I'm going to get you to lift and straighten your right leg, pointing the toes towards the sky for 3-legged downward facing dog. And just pause there. Notice if your right hip is really opening to the sky and throwing you off balance a little bit. Just try to keep your right hip and your left hip in line more or less. And especially that right armpit stays rotating down towards the ground. And then look forward. We're going to bring that right knee into our right elbow. Okay, hold it there. Push the ground as hard as you can away from you for 3, 2, 1. And then you're going to extend that right knee so that the right foot steps out beyond the left side of the mat. Left heel is going to come down and we open up here to a fallen triangle. Really lift your right hip up and away from the ground. Push through the index and thumb of the right hand. Keep gripping the earth. Push down to the outside of your left foot. We're nearly there. Just take one more long breath. Beautiful. Gaze back down to the ground. Left hand comes down. Step your right foot back, downward dog. Repeating this on the left side. Next inhale. Lift and lengthen through your left leg. pointing the toes. But again, being mindful not to kind of open the hip and shift your body weight. Thinking that you're basically still in the same position with the upper body as you were in downward dog. And that left hip is still in line with your right hip. Take one more breath. Good, look to your hands. You're going to bring this left knee into your left elbow. Hold it there for 3, 2, 1. Extend your left knee. Right heel comes down, and then open up the fallen triangle. Only look to your right thumb if it's okay for the neck, otherwise gaze to the side. Keep lifting your left hip up and away. Take one more breath. Beautiful, gaze to the ground. Bring your right hand down and step it back to your downward dog. Take one breath in through the nose, out softly through your mouth. Really nice, look forward. Step 1 foot forward at a time. Doesn't matter which one it is. We're going to find our fold here, hands behind your heels, knees resting in against your armpits, rib cage resting on your thighs. Lift your hips a little bit higher. Beautiful. Again, finding Utkatasana, you're going to bend your knees nice and deeply. Raise your arms. This time lift your heels, balance on all 10 toes. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Really nice. We're going to inhale, keep the heels lifted but straighten the knees. And we're going to exhale, lower the heels and the arms down for 3, for 2, and for 1. Beautiful. Really nice, guys. Pause here in your Tadasana, palms facing forward. Let your shoulders relax. Come back to your breath. This is always your anchor. This is always your signpost for which direction you're heading in. And always cultivating that moment to give yourself time to arrive. Let's take one more slow breath. Really nice. You can open the eyes here if they're closed. We're going to make a thumbs up here with both hands. I want you to roll your thumbs forward, in towards the outside of your thighs, and then back behind you as much as you can. So you're finding a really nice deep internal rotation of both shoulders. Keep that internal rotation of both shoulders, little bend in both knees. Inhale, push down through your heels, try to feel your sternum lifting. And then exhale, you're going to forward fold, coming to kind of what we would say in yoga is a halfway lift, more or less. So we're holding our hamstrings here in a little bit of tension. You're thinking about your chest going forward the whole time, your hips going back a little bit, and pushing down through the big toe mounds and the heels of each foot. You're going to feel your hamstrings starting to work. Stay with it. Breathe for 3. Release that thumbs up position. Just let your fingertips reach back, palms facing the sky for 2. And for 1. Okay, now stay in the position, transfer your weight into the right foot so that we can calmly step our left foot back. Okay, and we're going to arrive into this kind of lunge position with the right side of our rib cage hovering above the right thigh. Take a moment here to squeeze your shoulder blades a little more together now behind your back. Let's come back to the breath as a way to guide the movement. So with our next inhale, we're going to reach both arms up overhead for high lunge. And as we exhale, we're going to let that left heel come down and open to Warrior 2. So again, arrive into your Warrior 2. Gaze right middle finger. Take one more breath. Beautiful. With our next inhale, we'll straighten up that right knee. And as we exhale, reach forward. Imagine someone is pulling that right arm forward. Rib cage over your right thigh. Hand comes onto the shin. Left arm reaches up. Trikonasana, triangle. Again, gazing to the left thumb only if it's comfortable for the neck. Try to direct energy down through your back foot. Let your sitting bones come together. And take one more breath here. Beautiful. Keep that right hand on your right leg. Gaze down to your right big toe. And with your next inhale, you're going to bend that right knee, sweep your left hand down, pivot onto the ball of your left foot, and turn into a twisted high lunge as you breathe out. Squeeze your right thigh into your abdomen. Take one more long breath. Beautiful. Again, gaze back down to the earth. Let that right hand sweep down on the outside of the foot, and we'll step it back, downward facing dog. Beautiful. From our downward facing dog, we're going to walk or again hop or step to the front. We'll find a forward fold, Uttanasana. Next inhale, we're going to raise our arms the whole way up. Urdhva Hastasana, pressing down through the feet, palms together overhead. And exhale, come back to Tadasana. Again, find that internal rotation of your shoulders. Palms are facing back. Really rotate internally as much as you feel comfortable and is available to you. Little bend in both knees. Inhale, you're pushing down through the heels, lifting up through the chest, trying to guide energy in your body. Exhale, coming into this forward fold, thinking about keeping your back extended the whole time, flat back, pulling the heads of the shoulders away from your earlobes. Gaze forward and down. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Really nice. Transfer all of the weight into your left foot. You're going to calmly step your right foot back. Take your time. If you wobble, that's fine. And again, just trying to peel the lower ribs on that left side off of the thigh. Squeeze shoulder blades in. Again, using our breath here to set a rhythm and dictate the movement. Next inhale, we're going to raise up high lunge, shoulders stacked over the hips. Exhale, our warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2, right heel comes down. Fix your gaze, left middle finger. Think about taking the arch out of the lower back. And take one more long breath. Really nice. Next inhale, you straighten up your left knee. Exhale, reaching forward, forward, forward. Hand onto the left shin, Trikonasana. Pay attention to your breath. Take one more, long and slow. Beautiful. End of your exhale, you're looking down to your left big toe, bending the left knee. Inhale, sweep that right hand down, pivot onto the ball of your right foot. Exhale, turn into your twisted high lunge. Beautiful. One more breath. Fill up the chest cavity. Look down to the ground. Sweep that left hand down outside of your foot and step it back. Downward facing dog. Beautiful. Take one breath here. And then let's lower both knees down. Good. Find this neutral tabletop position. We're going to move through our cat-cow. So next inhale, arching your back nice and slowly. Keep pushing down through your hands a little bit here so there's force generated in the body, supporting the spine through the movement as you exhale, bringing your pubic bone and the chin closer towards one another across the front of your body. And just follow your breath here. And I always really like cat-cow. Actually, towards the end of a practice, often it's used as a warm-up, which is, of course, totally understandable. But it's also just a really beautiful way to check in with how the movements and asanas have influenced our sense of self. Just one or two more here. And really just start to notice how the breath really guides and influences the movement itself. Without the breath, there truly is no movement in the physical body. And next time that you round and flex your spine, you're just going to bring yourself back to neutral. And then we'll cross the ankles behind us and just sit back for a moment here. In whatever way is comfortable for you, you're just going to glide yourself onto your back. Okay, so just two more poses here to finish us off. We're starting with Setu Bandhasana, our bridge pose, so our middle fingers touching our heels without having to move your hands inwards. So as you reach your arms by the side of the body, middle fingers just touch the heels. And then when you're ready, next inhale, we're going to slowly peel the sacrum, lower back, middle back off of the earth, coming up into your bridge. And we're going to be here for about 8 breaths. With every inhale, try to feel your abdomen and diaphragm being involved with the breath. Lower back puffing out. Keep pushing strongly through your feet, almost as if you're attempting to straighten your knees. We have about 4 more breaths here. Slight engagement of your glutes will just help to extend your hips and also to support your lower back. 2 more breaths. Make them long, slow. 1 more breath. We're going to lower down for the count of 5, feeling the space between your shoulder blades coming down. 4, 3, moving down. 2, 1, and fully arriving back onto the earth. Nice twist here just to work on the hips. We're going to again find this cactus shape with the arms, elbows in line with the shoulders. Bring your feet wide off the mat. Let your knees part. Going to inhale in the center. Exhale, knees drop to your right side. Gaze over your left shoulder. You don't need to move your feet or your knees in any way here. Just pause. And attempt here just to slow down the exhale. Making the exhalation last. If it's comfortable, double the time of the inhalation. And that exhale doesn't have to be forced, it's completely effortless. Notice those pockets of space in your body that are open and invitational to the flow of your breath. Let's take 1 more here. With the next inhale, we're going to slowly draw the knees and the head back into the center. And as you exhale, you just let the knees fall to your left, gaze over your right shoulder. And just like we did at the very beginning of the practice, just be sensitive to the narratives that perhaps are playing in your mind about this position, this moment, even about what's to come for the rest of your day after this practice. Because the question then arises, like, how often do we truly arrive somewhere? We always have ideas of arriving at a certain mental, emotional state, and yet if we observe ourselves carefully moment by moment, we see that we're never even granting ourselves permission to arrive into this moment. So recognize that tendency here and just come back to your breath and your felt sense of your body. It truly is that simple. Well, simple in theory, but often a little trickier to do. This is why it's called a practice. Let's take one more breath. Use your next inhale to bring head and knees back to center, and as we exhale, we'll hug our knees into our chest. We'll take a moment here just to roll softly side to side. Keep that breath moving smoothly and slowly. And then from here, we'll allow the whole body to lie flat out on the earth. Palms up to the sky, feet open wide, legs open wide. Let your chin move towards your upper chest and let yourself rest in Shavasana here. And from me to you today, I say a big, massive thank you for taking the time to join me for this practice. Thanking yourself for your own dedication to this practice. I'll leave you now as you spend a few more minutes or moments in your Shavasana. It is important to take this rest, so do enjoy it. And I hope to see you back here for practice soon. Take care.